Hello everyone, and welcome all of you to Unacademy, a platform where you can crack your toughest of examinations with the help of top educators, quality content, and not to forget the great learning experience. Therefore, join us in cracking your 9th and 10th examination with Unacademy, where Unacademy offers you unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. And here I welcome you all on Unacademy. Let me introduce myself. I am Tasneem Ahmed and I have completed my Master's and MPhil in English. I have also been certified in TESOL and I have trained 1,000+ students. Also, I have 8 years of professional teaching experience. Therefore, be rest assured you are in good hands. Today's topic is about simple, compound, and complex sentences. I'm going to be giving you an insight about what these sentences are, and then we will be learning about how to convert simple to compound and then compound to complex and vice versa. But before I proceed with these types of sentences, let me tell you a little more about what you can expect with Unacademy. Well, Unacademy offers you daily live classes where you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts, and answer polls, all while the class is going on. Number 2, you have live tests and quizzes where you can evaluate your preparation with our regular mock tests and quizzes and get detailed analysis on your performance. Number 3, you have structured courses. All our courses are structured in line with your exam syllabus to help you best prepare for it. Number 4, which is the most important one of all, that is the unlimited access to all our live and recorded courses. One subscription gets you the access to all our live and recorded courses to watch from the comfort of any of your devices anytime you want. All you have to do is buy any one of the subscriptions available and get the access to free live classes and prepare from top educators. And also get the comprehensive syllabus, access to the comprehensive syllabus of mathematics, social science, Hindi, science, and of course English as well. You can also talk to us on Telegram application. That is by downloading the Telegram application, typing the link in the URL, and then clicking on join. The next step for you to do is to download the Unacademy learning application on any one of your compatible devices. The final step is to go ahead and buy any one of these subscriptions available. You have 6 months subscription, 12 months subscription, 24 months subscription, 36 months subscription, and 48 months subscription. As you go higher with the time period of the subscription, there is discount as well, which goes higher as well. Well, 6 months subscription comes with 33% of discount, whereas 12 months subscription comes with 50% of discount, and 24 months is available on 58%, and then 60, and then 67, and it goes on. Well, additional to this available discount, you also have extra 10% of discount. That is when you type the code TA01 when you proceed to pay. So when you proceed to pay, you gotta type the code TA01 and you get additional 10% of discount on the existing discounted rates. For example, if you were to buy a course for 12 months, which is already available on 50% of discount, then you go ahead and type the code TA01. Then you get extra 10%, which means in total you get 60% off discount. And as opposed to 15,000 rupees, you now will be paying only 13,500 rupees only. That is for the entire 12 months. For a month, it will only cost you 1,125 only. So if you are a 9th grader or a 10th grader or an 11th grader or a 12th grader, I suggest go ahead, buy the subscription today, take the advantage of the code TA01, buy the course for 12 months, but because that's that is what is going to be fruitful for you. 6 months would be less, and 24 months might be too much, but then 12 is perfectly all right. So go ahead, buy the subscription, type the code TA01, and start preparing for your exams today. Let us now move on to today's topic, and the topic is simple, compound, and complex sentences. Well, what are these simple, compound, and complex sentences? That's the important question that you should be asking me. Well, the answer is, let me explain these sentences with examples. Now, in this particular slide, you see this statement, which is, she cleaned the dishes. Now, in this particular statement, you can see that we have our subject, and then we have our verb. Do we see any other verb over here? Well, let me tell you, finite verb, not non-finite. I hope you remember what are non-finites and what are finites. If you do not know, let me give you a little insight. Finite verbs are those which change with the change of tense and the number of the subject. Non-finites are those which do not, non-finite verbs are those which do not get affected by the change of the subject or the tense. So here, this is our subject and this is our finite verb, and there we have the end of the sentence, and the sentence goes like this: she cleaned the dishes, full stop, period, end. So my question to you is, does this statement convey a complete thought? Yes or no? Certainly yes. And does this statement have a verb, subject? Yes, of course it does. Does this statement have a finite verb? Yes, of course it does. Then this is our simple sentence. What is it? It is our simple sentence. It can also be called as independent clause, or you can also call it as sentence or sentence. All right, so this is our simple sentence. Let me erase all this extra and let me keep only this alone. Now let us move on to the next sentence, which is, she cleaned the dishes and he dusted the house. Now here, let us analyze the statement and let us answer. What do we have first here? What is this? This is our subject. What is this? This is our finite verb. This is our object. What is this? It is our conjunction. What type of conjunction is it? This is our coordinating conjunction. This is our coordinating conjunction. Well, yesterday's video was all about conjunctions. I hope you all have watched it. That is the reason soon after recording the video on conjunctions, I have taken up this topic, because I wanted you people to have a clarity about coordinating conjunctions and the other types of conjunctions. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest go back, watch it, and then come back and watch this video. Otherwise, this video is going to be pretty complex for you to understand. Therefore, watch that video and come back and watch this. If you have already watched, let us continue that. So like I told you, coordinating conjunctions. What are coordinating conjunctions? The ones which are represented by fanboys. What are the words? This is an acronym for all the coordinating conjunctions, where F stands for for, and A for and, N for nor, B for but, or, and yet, and so. These are our coordinating conjunctions. What is the function of coordinating conjunction? Coordinating conjunctions combine two independent clauses. What is their function? The function of coordinating conjunctions is to combine two independent clauses. So here we have one subject, one finite verb, the object, and then we have the conjunction and. So this is our clause number 1. So here we have our conjunction, which is combining the other clause, and here we have our another subject, and another finite verb and our object of this statement, which means we have our clause number 2. Clause number 2. So we have clause number 1 and clause number 2, and it has been combined by the conjunction and, which is a coordinating conjunction. So what do we call these types of sentences when two clauses are combined by coordinating conjunctions? What do we call these type of sentences as? These type of sentences are called as compound sentences. So what are compound sentences? Compound sentences are those where we have two independent clauses where both the clauses are combined by coordinating conjunctions. All right, remember that. So these are our compound sentences. Now let us move on to the third one, which is she cleaned the dishes while he dusted the house. Now let us analyze this statement. We have our subject here, and then we have our finite verb and the object. And what do we have here? This is the conjunction. What type of conjunction is it? This is our subordinating conjunction. What are subordinating conjunctions? What is the acronym that I gave you yesterday for this subordinating conjunctions? The acronym was AUBISTA. The acronym was AUBISTA, where A is for as, and then after, and then while, when, or what, all the WH words, and then before, because, if, since, though, or that, or therefore, however, although. All these conjunctions are called as subordinating conjunctions. You got to remember this acronym that I have given it to you. That is going to help you. Remember or differentiate between coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions take the acronym fanboys, whereas subordinating conjunctions take the acronym AUBISTA. So what do we have over here? Coming back to the statement, she cleaned the dishes while he dusted the house. So here we have another subject, finite verb, and the object. So again, we have two clauses over here. Clause number 1 and clause number 2. But here is a trick or a complexity, which means are these clauses both independent? The answer is no, these clauses are not independent, whereas this is our independent clause because this is capable of standing on its own. It is not dependent on any other statement like this. Remember what I told you yesterday, when you are actually combining a statement with a subordinating conjunction, you start the second clause or that particular clause along with the conjunction. So here your clause is while he dusted the house. Therefore, here this is included in this clause. Hence, it becomes your dependent clause. Now, when you say while he dusted the house, there is an incomplete sense. There is no complete thought having been mentioned. It is demanding for extra information. And that extra information is provided by clause number 1, which is she cleaned the dishes. So only with the addition of this clause does this clause make a complete meaningful sentence. Therefore, this becomes our dependent clause and this becomes our independent clause. And this is our conjunction. So what do we call these types of sentences when you combine two clauses with AUBISTA or with subordinating conjunctions? What do we call these types of sentences where you have one independent clause and another dependent clause? What do we call those types of sentences? Well, we call them as complex sentences. What do we call them? we call them as complex sentences. When you have only one subject and one verb and no addition, you call them simple sentences. When you have two independent clauses combined by fan voice or coordinating conjunctions, you call them compound sentences. And when you have one independent clause and another dependent clause combined by subordinating conjunctions, you call them as complex sentences. So these are our three different types of sentences. Let me give you a few more examples concerning these simple, compound, and complex. Well, the first one is she is smart. She is your subject, is your finite verb, and this is your adjective. Or we can also call it as complement. All right? Complement is a word that completes the statement. So here she is your subject, drank is your verb, and he is your subject, and works is your verb. So she is smart. She drank a cup of coffee. He works as an accountant. So there you have your simple sentences with one subject and one finite verb. This is the condition for a statement to qualify as a simple statement, or you can also call it as independent sentence or clause. All right, so these are our simple sentences. Now let us move on to compound sentences. What are compound sentences? Let me write them for you. And while I'm writing these sentences, I want you to analyze. I want you to think about the conjunctions that we use when we are using compound sentences. Remember, compound sentences are combined by coordinating conjunctions, which are fan voice, where F stands for, A stands for and, N stands for nor, and B stands for but, and O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. All these are our coordinating conjunctions, and when we combine two clauses with these conjunctions, our sentences are called as compound sentences. Let me give you the examples. That is, she drank a cup of coffee, but she didn't seem to like it much. So here, she drank, subject, verb, that is finite verb, and conjunction, coordinating conjunction, here subject, and also our finite verb. She drank a cup of coffee, but she didn't seem to like it much. So this is our independent clause number 1, and this is our independent clause number 2. And we have our conjunction but, therefore, this qualifies as our compound sentence. Let me give you another example, which is, she is smart, but she, one second, but it will not make her win. So here is our statement. So what's the conjunction over here? Conjunction is but, which is a coordinating conjunction, and there you have our subject and our finite verb. She is smart, but it will not make her win. So here, subject and the verb, and clause number 1, independent clause number 1, and independent clause number 2. It will not make her win. She is smart, but it will not make her win. So but is our the conjunction, which is coordinating conjunction. Let me give you another example, which is, there is Okay, let me write it down below. There is someone inside the house, for I heard something. So there you have, there is someone inside the house, for. For is the conjunction that we have used over here, and for is our coordinating conjunction, and this is our independent clause number 1, and I heard something is our independent clause number 2. There is someone inside the house, for I heard something. For can also be used as a preposition, but then be careful if you are using that as a preposition or a conjunction. Here we have used it as a conjunction. So this is our compound sentence. Let me give you another example, which is, he is rich, yet he is miser. Now here, he is rich, yet he is miser. Clause number 1, independent clause number 1 and independent clause number 2, and the conjunction yet, which makes this statement a compound sentence. All these are our compound sentences. All you have to remember is compound sentences are those which are combined by the conjunctions fanboys, or coordinating conjunctions where both the clauses are independent clauses. All right, now let us move on to the next one, which are complex sentences. And complex sentences are those which are combined by our subordinating conjunctions, which are subordinating conjunctions, which are avvista. Remember this acronym. This is really going to help you in figuring out or in understanding your subordinating conjunctions, where A stands for as, after, while, when, where, what, wherever, before, because, if, since, that, therefore, though, however, although, etc. There are many types of subordinating conjunctions. I'm not going to go into all of those, but then this acronym is definitely going to help you in understanding these or remembering these subordinating conjunctions. Let me give you the examples, which are number 1, she wasn't allowed inside because she had no identification card. Now here you got to focus again on 2 different clauses, which is here she wasn't allowed inside number 1 clause, and another clause is she had no identification card. But remember, what did I tell you about subordinating conjunctions? You begin the clause along with the subordinating conjunctions. You do not leave them out like the way you leave them in coordinating conjunctions. You in fact begin them along with the subordinating conjunction, and your conjunction here is because. Here is because she had no identification card. Definitely asking for help for another clause. Therefore, this becomes our dependent clause, and because is our conjunction, which is subordinating conjunction, and she wasn't allowed inside is our independent clause. So clause number 1 and clause number 2. And because we have used a subordinating conjunction over here, this statement becomes a complex sentence. All right, now let us move on to the next one, which is next example, that is, since it was late, he rushed outside. Since it was late, he rushed outside. Now, where is the conjunction over here? Can you figure it out? Where is the conjunction over here, and which is your dependent clause and which is your independent clause? This kind of seems a little tricky, right? The conjunction over here is in the beginning. The conjunction doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle. It can also come in the beginning like this. Since it was late, he rushed outside. So remember when I said that when you have a conjunction, you include the conjunction in that clause, right? So we have included this, and this is our subordinating conjunction. And since it was late, so when you have a conjunction included in a clause, it becomes our dependent clause. So which is our independent clause in that case? Our independent clause is he rushed outside. He rushed outside is our independent clause. So there you have, since it was late is your dependent clause, since is your subordinating conjunction, and you have your independent clause over here, and this is our complex sentence. Since can also be replaced by as, and you can also replace that with because as well. So all these three conjunctions can be used interchangeably in this particular place. The next one is although he was rich, he never really thought of helping the poor. Although he was rich, he never really thought of helping the poor. So which is our subordinating conjunction over here, and which is our dependent clause over here? Well, again, we have the conjunction in the beginning, and because this is included in this particular clause, this becomes our dependent clause. Although he was rich, he never really thought of helping the poor. So this becomes our independent clause. This is our independent clause, and this is our dependent clause. Hence, this is our complex sentence because we have used the conjunction although. When you use subordinating conjunctions in a statement and when you combine two clauses, it becomes those statements become complex sentences. I can give you one last example before I proceed. That is, she left early although she had enough of time. She left early although she had enough of time. So this is our conjunction over here. So this goes with this clause, hence making this as a dependent clause and making this as an independent clause, and this qualifies as our complex sentences. So these are our complex sentences where you have two clauses combined by subordinating conjunctions, which are where you can remember the acronym, which is AUBISTA. AUBISTA, where A stands for as, after, while, when, where, because, before, if, since, that, though, however, although, etc., etc., etc. So the acronym is AUBISTA, which are subordinating conjunctions. So when you combine two clauses with subordinating conjunctions, you call them as complex sentences. Now let us move on to the next one, where we are going to convert the simple sentences into compound and compound sentences into complex and back into simple and compound. I'm going to take you through each of these statements and each of the rule that you need to apply and help you figure it out. It's not that difficult. If you focus, you can easily convert them from simple to complex and complex to compound and back into simple. It's really easy. So the first thing that we are going to do is, which is conversion of simple sentences into complex sentences. Now, what is a simple sentence? I hope you remember that I explained you a little while ago. Simple sentences are those where you have only one subject and one finite verb, right? Now here you do not have two different clauses, but you have to, the condition is you have to convert this simple sentence into complex sentences. What are complex sentences? Complex sentences are those where you have two clauses where you combine the conjunctions, you combine those clauses with the conjunctions with subordinating conjunctions. Therefore, you will have to convert a single clause into two different clauses and also have to bring in subordinating conjunctions. How can you do that? Well, that's pretty easy. That is by expanding the word or a phrase into a clause. All you have to remember is, if you are converting this into complex, all you have to remember is the acronym AUBISTA. Remember the acronym AUBISTA. These are our subordinating conjunctions. And because we are converting simple sentences into complex, these are the conjunctions what we are going to be needing. These are the conjunctions which are going to be defining whether the statement is complex or not, or a compound. Let me give you the example. Let me first write the simple statement for you. She was sorry. She was sorry to hear about his death. She was sorry to hear about his death. So we have one subject here and one verb here, which is finite verb, right? Do we have any other subject or any other finite verb? Of course not. Do we have any conjunction here? Definitely not. So we gotta convert the phrase. This is our prepositional phrase. This prepositional phrase into a clause by introducing any one of this conjunction. Now the question is, what could you possibly do over there? About his death. What can we do to make that as a clause? What can we bring in there? She was sorry to hear about his death. Which conjunction can you bring in there, and how can you convert that into another clause? What is a condition for a clause? You will have to have a subject there. You will have to have a verb, finite verb there. And another condition for you to do is to bring in the clause. So what are you going to do here to convert this into a complex sentence? Let me tell you what you will do. She was sorry to hear that. You are going to bring in the subordinating conjunction that he had. Death becomes died. And there you have your subject and your finite verb and your complete statement, and thereby you get your dependent clause. All right, I forgot to mention that complex sentences are those which combine one independent and one dependent clause. All right, so this is your independent clause, and this is your dependent clause, and this is your subordinating conjunction. Therefore, you have converted a simple statement successfully into a complex statement. So this is our complex, whereas this is our simple statement. Remember that when you convert a simple statement into complex, two factors should be kept in mind. A phrase should be converted into a clause, and you have to introduce a subordinating conjunction. Let me give you another example, which is getting late. Getting late, she got into the elevator. Getting late, she got into the elevator. Now here again, this is our subject, this is our finite verb, into the elevator. And then we have a phrase, and this is our participle phrase. I hope you remember the participles video. I mean, like I had shot a video, I had recorded a video on participles, and I had explained. In fact, I had given the same example. I took the same example for you to explain these sentences as well. I hope you remember. This is our participle phrase. And we are going to convert this participle phrase into a statement now. How are we going to convert that into a clause? Remember, you will have to introduce a conjunction, and then you will have to convert this phrase into a sentence wherein you will have to bring in the subject. So getting late, she got into the elevator. Who got into the elevator and who was getting late over here? She was the one who was getting late over here, right? So she is going to be our subject. She was getting late. So we are going to mention it as she was getting late. But does it still make sense? Did we leave out the conjunction? We did. So we are going to put the conjunction, which is as. As she was getting late, she got into the elevator. What can we replace as into? As can also be replaced with since and because. Remember, I told you that since and because. As she was getting late. So now we have converted this getting late phrase, a participle phrase, into a clause. We have expanded that and we have converted that into a clause. In fact, into a dependent clause by introducing the conjunction, the subordinating conjunction as, thereby making this statement a complex statement where this is our dependent clause and this is our independent clause. All right, let me give you another example. That is, all right. The girl with the pink purse is my sister. The girl with the pink purse is my sister. So here you do not have any other clause. You have your subject. Is your finite verb. This entire thing is your noun phrase. This is your noun phrase. Anything that comes in front of your in front of your finite verb is your noun phrase. So the girl with the pink purse is my sister. So you are going to convert this phrase now here, with the pink purse, into a clause by introducing any one of these conjunctions. How can you do that? Well, let me tell you. All you have to do is the girl who is holding the pink purse is my sister. The girl who is holding the pink purse is my sister, and the conjunction that we have used is who. That is one of the WH words. So the girl who is holding the pink purse is my sister. This is our conjunction, thereby making this as a complex sentence, whereas this is a simple sentence. All right. Let me give you two more examples before I proceed. Remember, what did I tell you? Subordinating conjunctions are au bista. These are subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions. Let me give you one more example. That is, feeling helpless. She walked out in the rain. So which phrase are we going to convert over here into a clause? That's the question. She is your subject, walked is your finite verb, and feeling helpless is your participle phrase. So this phrase needs to be converted into a clause, a dependent clause with the introduction of any one of these conjunctions. So what are we going to do? Which one are we going to bring in over here? We are going to bring in since, or you can also put it as. Then you can continue with your clause, which is since she was feeling helpless, she walked out in the rain. So there you have. Since is our conjunction, she subject, was finite verb, and we have our dependent clause, thereby making this statement a complex statement, a complex sentence. So these are this is how we have converted simple sentences into complex sentences. Now the next one is to convert the simple sentences into compound sentences, to convert simple sentences into compound sentences. So what conjunctions do we use when it comes to compound, or when it comes to coordinating, when it comes to compound sentences? We use coordinating conjunctions. And what are coordinating conjunctions? What is the acronym that you got to remember? The acronym is FAN boys. FAN boys, where F stands for, A stands for and, N for nor, B for but, or, yet, and so. So you have to follow or apply two rules over here when you are converting the sentence from simple to compound. Number one, simple sentence has only got one subject and one finite verb, but it will definitely have a phrase, and that particular phrase needs to be sparted, and you will have to convert that particular phrase into a clause by introducing the subject and the verb by putting or adding any one of these coordinating conjunctions. When you do that, you successfully will have converted your simple statement into compound statement. Let us see how we can do that with a couple of examples. Number one, let us take this same example. Feeling helpless, she walked out in the rain. This is our simple statement, right? We have our phrase feeling helpless. I told you this is our participle phrase. Now this needs to be converted into a clause. How would you do that? Let us say she was feeling helpless. Now the question is, what type of conjunction are you going to use? And you are going to use any one of these coordinating conjunctions. Which one is applicable over here? We can use so. We can also use and, but we are going to stick with so over here. So she was feeling helpless, so she walked out in the rain. All right, let me give you another example. That is getting late. We used this as well previously, but I'm going to convert. Now we are converting this into compound. What we did earlier was we converted these statements into complex. Now we are converting these statements into compound. That is the reason I'm using the same examples and not taking any other examples. Getting late, she got into the elevator. So this is our simple statement. What did I say you got to do when you have a simple statement? You got to expand the phrase, and this is our participle phrase. So what are you going to do? You are going to introduce your subject and your finite verb, and now you are going to bring in the phrase getting late, And here you have to introduce your conjunction, which is going to be either and or so. She was getting late and she got into the elevator. She got into the elevator, or you can also say she was getting late, so she got into the elevator. So there you have your coordinating conjunctions, and you have successfully converted a simple statement into a compound statement. Let us move on with more examples. Supposing if you have, okay, let me write the FAN boys acronym. FAN boys, these are coordinating conjunctions. All right. Okay, now let me give you one more example, which is in spite of bad bad performance, he was promoted. In spite of the bad performance, he was promoted. So what is the rule? What are you got to do? You got to convert the phrase into a clause. So you also have to bring in the conjunction. Yeah, bring in any one of these conjunctions to convert this simple statement into complex. So what are you going to do? Sorry, in spite of his bad performance, he was promoted. In spite of his bad performance, he was promoted. So you are going to convert this into a clause. He was, sorry. One sec. Yeah. His performance was bad. Now here, in spite of bad performance has been converted into as his performance was bad. His performance being your subject, was being your finite verb. Now you got to introduce your conjunction. And which conjunction are you going to use? Which one are you going to use? You are going to, in spite of his bad performance, he still he was promoted. His performance was bad, still he was promoted. So this is our compound sentence. Now let us move on to another example, which is in addition to her arrogance, she was rude too. Now we got to convert this phrase into a clause by introducing the subject and the conjunction. So we are going to do it like this. She was not only arrogant, but also rude. Now you can see that there is no mention of subject or verb over here. That is because it is quite understood that we are referring to the same subject and the verb, so it's not been repeated. So these things are pretty common. You can omit the subject and the verb if necessary, if you do not want to repeat it. So these are accepted notions, but then still this is our clause number 2. This is our independent clause number 1, and this is our independent clause number 2. So these are our simple statements which are converted into compound sentences with the help of coordinating conjunctions. Now let us move on to converting the compound into complex sentences. Compound into complex. Here we already have 2 different clauses, but the condition is there are 2 independent clauses and you have to convert those independent clauses into one independent and another as your dependent clause. How can you do that? You can do that by converting the conjunctions from fan boys to albista. You can do that by converting fanboys into albista. Compound to complex is what we are doing. That is by introducing the subordinating conjunctions. By compound sentences will have coordinating conjunctions. We are going to eliminate those coordinating conjunctions and we are going to introduce subordinating conjunctions, thereby converting the compound sentences into complex sentences. Let me give you the examples. That is, she cannot afford to buy a house. So she stays in a rented apartment. So what are our clauses over here and what is the conjunction that we have used over here? She cannot afford to buy a house, so she stays in a rented apartment. Clause number, independent clause number 1, independent clause number 2, our coordinating conjunction. So you have to convert this into a subordinating conjunction. You have to convert this into complex sentence by introducing the subordinating conjunction. How can you do that? That is by as she cannot, or you can also say since. Since she cannot afford to buy a house, comma, she stays in a rented apartment. All right, let me give you one more example. That is, his performance was bad. All right, let me erase this. We don't have enough space. Okay. His performance was bad. Still, he got promoted. So how are we going to change this into our complex sentence is the question. So you can bring in the conjunction even though, or you can also write it as although, okay. His performance was bad. He got promoted. So here we have used even though or although, which is our subordinating conjunction. And here this is our dependent clause. And this is our independent clause. So there we have converted the complex sentence into, compound into complex. Let me give you one more example, that is, revise your subjects. Revise your subjects regularly, or you, okay, let me write this down below, or you will not pass the test. So we have or, which is our coordinating conjunction, right? So we got to convert this into a complex sentence because we have or, it makes this is our compound sentence and we got to convert this into complex. How are we going to do this? We are going to do this by introducing the conjunction if. If you will revise your subjects regularly, You will. Okay, fine. All right. Okay, you will not. Sorry, if you will not revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass the test. So if you will not revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass the test. So there you have, we have introduced the conjunction if, and we have our clause, dependent clause, and we have our independent clause here. If you will not revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass the test. You can also convert this in a different way with the conjunction unless. Unless you revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass the test. Well, we have used unless over here and we have used if over here. Both are our subordinating conjunctions. Thereby, it makes this statement as complex sentence. Well, the only difference between this sentence as this sentence is here is because we've used if, we have used the negative word over here, and because we have used unless, that is the reason you do not see any negative word over here, because unless itself is a negative word, and when you use a negative word, there is no necessity of you to use another negative word. So therefore, unless you revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass the test. So this is how we can convert these statements into compound statements. Sorry, these were our compound statements and we converted them into complex statements. Now let us move on to converting compound to simple. Well, compound sentences are two independent clauses, so you have to convert that into simple. Simple sentence doesn't have more than one clause. It's just a standalone clause, standalone sentence, so you will have to shrink the clause into a phrase. How can you do that? Let us learn that with examples. She looks fragile, but she is strong enough to knock you out. To knock you out. She looks fragile, but she is strong enough to knock you out. So how are you going to convert this statement into, this clause into a phrase? Remember? Well, this is our compound statement because we have the coordinating conjunction over here. That is why this becomes our compound statement. So you got to convert this compound sentence into a simple sentence. And a simple sentence doesn't have any conjunction. It doesn't have two different clauses, but then it definitely has phrase. Therefore, you have to convert one clause into a phrase. Therefore, let us pick this clause. And how are you going to convert that into a phrase? You are going to convert that into a phrase by introducing a preposition, which is, in spite of looking fragile, she is strong enough to knock you out. In spite of looking fragile, she is strong enough to knock you out. Let me give you another example, which is, you must quit junk or you will not lose weight. So now you have your conjunction or, and you will have to convert this into a simple statement with no another clause. What you can do is eliminate or eliminate the subject, eliminate the finite verb, and eliminate the negative word as well, and introduce an infinitive by adding the preposition to. You must quit junk to lose weight. Does it make sense? You must quit junk to lose weight. Does this make sense? Certainly does. You must quit junk to lose weight. So we had two different clauses here. We eliminated a few factors, kept the meaning intact, and we also have our simple sentence now. Let me give you one more example. That is, he found him upset, and, which is our coordinating conjunction, cancelled the party. He found him upset and cancelled the party. So you gotta convert one of these clauses into a conjunction. Therefore, one of these clauses into a phrase. You have to convert one of these clauses into a phrase, which is, we are going to do that by bringing in a participle. That is like this: finding him upset, he cancelled the party. Finding him upset, he cancelled the party. So there you have your subject and your finite verb. But here you had your subject, finite verb, and then, well, like I told you in coordinating conjunction, in your coordinating, compound sentences, you can also eliminate the subject if the same person is your subject and your verb. So you have eliminated that, but then it is only understood that it's the same person. He cancelled the party. He found him upset and he cancelled the party. Instead of writing he, we eliminated it, we omitted it, and cancelled the party. Now we converted this into a phrase. We eliminated the subject and the verb, and we converted this into a phrase, and there you have our simple sentence. So this is how you convert a compound statement into simple sentence. Now we gotta convert a complex sentence into simple. What is a complex sentence? Complex sentence is when you have two clauses where one is independent clause and another one is dependent clause added by conjunctions au vista. That is au vista. These are our subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions. Let me give you examples. We cannot hold his employer responsible for what he does. Now your clauses are, we cannot hold his employer responsible for is your one clause, which is your independent clause. What he does is your dependent clause, and what is your conjunction. So now we got to convert this into a simple statement. How can we do that? By converting one of the clauses into a phrase, and we are going to do that by eliminating this and this and this as well, and we are going to introduce the phrase, which is his actions. We cannot hold his employer responsible for his actions. We eliminated what he does, and we brought in his actions, which is a phrase where it becomes simple statement. All right, let me give you another example, which is, he felt ashamed when he realized his mistake. When he realized his mistake. Now you got to convert this clause, when he realized, this into a phrase by eliminating your conjunction when. When is your subordinating conjunction, one of your subordinating conjunctions. He felt ashamed, independent clause. When he realized is your dependent clause, and there you have your conjunction. Eliminate this and you are going to, he felt ashamed on. Eliminate this and bring in the ing verb as your phrase. He felt ashamed on realizing his mistake. So there you have your simple statement. Now let us take a few more examples where we have converted. Remember, these examples were already discussed earlier, where we actually converted simple statements into complex statements. Now we are going to do the same thing over here, but then it's a reversed application. That is, we have complex sentence over here where you have, as she was getting late, she got into the elevator. As is your conjunction, that is your subordinating conjunction. She was getting late, she got into the elevator. Now this is going to be eliminated. She is also going to be eliminated. Was is going to be eliminated, and we are going to keep this phrase alone over here like this. Getting late, she got into the elevator. There you have your simple statement. Next is, the girl who is holding the pink purse is my sister. Now here, who is your subordinating conjunction, and this is your clause, your dependent clause. Now this is going to be converted into a phrase like this. The girl with the pink purse is my sister. Thereby, you get your simple statement. Next one is, since she was feeling helpless. Since she was feeling helpless, she walked out in the rain. So since is your conjunction and this is your dependent clause. We are going to eliminate the conjunction, we are going to eliminate the subject and the verb, and we're going to keep the phrase, which is our participle phrase. Feeling helpless, she walked out in the rain. Thereby, we get our simple statement. The last one is, she was sorry to hear that he died. That he had died is our dependent clause. We are going to eliminate this and this and this, and this will be converted into death. She was sorry to hear about his death. There you get our simple statement. Now let us move on to complex to compound. How can you do that? Complex is when you have conjunctions like albista, right? Albista. So these are our subordinating conjunctions. So when you have complex sentences combined, when you have two clauses combined by these conjunctions, we call them as complex. We have to convert these into fanboys. That's the condition. No phrasing, no shrinking, nothing, no change of one clause to another. Clauses will remain the same, but then you are going to change albista to fanboys. Let's see how you can do that. If she can't behave, she will lose her job. Now this needs to be converted. You have your subordinating conjunction. This needs to be changed into one of these conjunctions. How are you going to do that? She has to behave, or she will lose her job. So you can see that we have introduced the coordinating conjunction and we have eliminated the subordinating conjunction, and we have kept the meaning intact as well, and there we have converted the complex statement into compound statement. Let us take a few more examples which we used actually earlier when we were converting the compound sentences into complex. Now I have taken the same examples where we are converting the complex sentences back into compound. That is like this. The first one, which is our complex sentence. As she cannot afford to buy a house, she stays in a rented apartment. This is our complex sentence. Right now we got to convert that into compound by introducing fan voice or coordinating conjunction. She cannot afford to buy a house, so she stays in a rented apartment. So there you have, we have converted from complex to compound. Okay, this is compound. Next one is, unless you revise your subjects regularly, you will not pass your test. So there you have your conjunction, subordinating conjunction. You got to convert that into coordinating conjunction. Let's see how. Revise your subjects regularly or you will not pass the test. So there you have your compound sentence. Next is, as she was feeling helpless, she walked out in the rain. As, eliminate this, and she was feeling helpless, so she walked out in the rain. There you have your compound sentence. Even though or although his performance was bad, he got promoted. His performance was bad, still he got promoted. There you have your compound conjunctions. So this is how you convert one type of sentence into another. All you have to remember is the structure of the statement. What is a simple statement? Simple statement or simple sentence is only one independent clause with one subject and one verb. And that will have many number of phrases though. So that is our simple statement. Compound sentences are those where you have two clauses with coordinating conjunctions where both the clauses are independent. What are complex sentences? Complex sentences are those where you definitely will have two clauses, but then one is an independent clause and another one is a dependent clause, but the conjunctions are subordinating conjunctions. When you convert these statements from one to another, all you have to remember is the sentence structure. That is, supposing if you are converting a simple statement into compound or complex, you will have to remember what factors go in there. Simple sentence is only one statement with one subject and one verb. Compound and complex require two different clauses, right? And also they require conjunction. So you bring in the right kind of conjunction in between and you bring in two different clauses in there, make it same. I mean, like, without changing the meaning, you have nailed it. You have actually converted them into from one type of sentence into another, which is not difficult to do at all. Well, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Do not forget to leave your comments below. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Do not forget to hit that bell icon if you haven't already. And do not forget to type the code TA01 when you are buying your subscription to get that extra 10% off discount. Well, do join our Telegram group for the latest updates on our upcoming videos. Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.